So this is episode 44. Isn't it time you decide for yourself? I'd just like you to know it's the second time I've had to record it because the first time I was on mute. God, I hope the sound's on this time. Right, but we will assume that it is and go from there. Hello and welcome to A Wealthy Life. This episode is all about removing stress from your life. Now, as we're in a holiday period, the pressure is a bit more public than it is throughout the year. Because when push comes to shove, even though I said in The Wealthy Life, my fifth book, that you will live longer than you think and longer than you afford, you're unlikely to live long enough. And if you have a wealthy life, and I hope that you do, you will want more time to spend the time doing what you love with the people that you care about. And stress is not only a killer, but it's actually a time sapper. And that for me is the most difficult thing to resolve, that by being stressed about something, which is meaning that you want to do something and there's frustration because you can't pull it off, because if you want to do something and you can do it, then you wouldn't be stressed. So this is clearly something that you want to do and you're unable to, and that's what causes the stress for you. If that thing that you're aiming to do isn't even something that really matters to you, you've got stressed about something that doesn't really matter. And that's taken up time, it's taken up energy, it's affected your health. It's crazy. So my plea to you in this episode is that from this day forth, you are going to decide for yourself. And I hope that I'm going to guide you through that over the next 20 to 30 minutes. And as I said, the holiday period can be so stressful. So whether we're talking about Labor Day, Independence Day, Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year, or any other religious or even birthday occasions, some families will find that there is so much pressure to make this time amazing. And yet other families will be finding that they've done the best they could and they're left feeling disappointed because they just don't feel that they've been appreciated. I think I'm sounding a bit like last week's episode already. But it is important, this feeling of appreciated. It is important, this feeling that we are able to self-determine how we use our time. But we are surrounded by social media, very, very clever marketing agencies, and maybe even family pressure to often behave and present ourselves in a way that doesn't really resonate with who we feel we are now. So isn't it time that you decide what really matters for you, and by extension of you, your family, and what matters to you and your family? Not just tradition, not just what the media wants you, or even celebrities and very clever TV advertising agencies. What really matters to you? I read this post on Facebook, and unfortunately I've obviously saved it somewhere and can't work out what I've done with it. But it was supposed to be a post by a butcher on his take on Christmas and Christmas dinner and why it causes so much stress. And he said that we're just looking at it all the wrong way. So Christmas lunch is actually just a Sunday roast, just the same. A turkey is just a bigger chicken. And that's really all there is to Christmas, and that anything else is TV advertising. And then he said, and Jamie Oliver's fault. And Jamie Oliver, if you don't know, is a well-known British chef who has a chain of restaurants, does a lot of cooking programs around Christmas, although a lot of other chefs do as well. But we have a thing where we like to blame Jamie Oliver, because one of the things Jamie Oliver will have you doing is taking your Brussels sprouts, cutting them in half, parboiling them, then adding pork lardons and sticking them in the oven to roast them in order to make them taste better. And the butcher would say to you, if you don't like Brussels sprouts, here's the shocker, have peas. Well, providing you like peas, of course. And I just thought that post really just went, let's just see through all of this and see it for what it really is. So my question to you is, did you succumb to the marketing? Did you overspend? Did you overeat? And honestly, did you fail to enjoy? Well, I shouldn't say that you failed to enjoy, but did you not enjoy it at the end? Was Christmas enjoyable, or in truth, was it not enjoyable because you weren't really doing what you wanted? Were people grateful for your presence? And let me qualify this. I know we should, and we all believe that you shouldn't give gifts because you're looking for what you're getting in return. I'm not talking about, oh, I gave you this and it was worth 20 quid and you gave me that and it was only worth 10. We're not looking at that sort of an exchange. I'm looking for the exchange where no matter what I've spent on a gift in terms of money, I would have spent time thinking about what I wanted you to have. I will have spent time sourcing that. And if you're really lucky, I'll have even spent time wrapping it. And I would want to feel that you appreciated the effort and the love and the care that I poured into thinking about and eventually getting your present to you. I want that appreciation to be maybe sprinkled with just a touch of gratitude, to know that it mattered, because otherwise, why don't I just save my time, save my effort, save my energy? We're all busy and I could spend my time doing something else and just give you some money and then you can go off and do whatever you like with it. If I'm going to put the time and the energy into converting the money into a present, whether this is for birthdays or Christmas or any other reason, there has to be something that lets me know that it was worth the effort. And I think, well, maybe there's a little lesson there that we need to all be more grateful about the gifts that we receive and the thought and the energy and everything that's gone into that. But also maybe, to look at what we're doing to our children. We pile a load of presents on the floor on Christmas morning, and as fast as they're opening one present, we're taking it away so we can hand them another present. Here's the one from, mummy's daddy, or granddad, and here's the present from Grampy, and here's the present from Nonny, and here's from Nanny, and here's from Auntie Joan, and here's from Uncle Fred. And the kids are just getting presents from all direction and shredding through the paper and looking at things and maybe not getting the opportunity to say thank you to the person that gave them before they put them to one side, and then they're tearing through another present. And I know that's not all families' reality of Christmas, if you like, but how can we build more appreciation and gratitude into this? How can we build out the stress and build in the joy? And I feel that one way to do that is to decide for yourself from now on how many of your decisions, of your buying habits, let's not even get started about opinions and beliefs as shaped by social media and some very cleverly and often, if we're lucky, funny adverts that tell us how we need to be living our Christmas or our holidays or our birthdays, what we should be buying. And what we've got to understand is that all of the pictures are airbrushed. The news at best is an editor's opinion, and at worst, fake. And the TV adverts are an illusion designed to channel you down a path where you end up purchasing the product at the other end of it. Bob and I recently watched a box set offered by the BBC on the iPlayer, and I'll stick the link in the notes. And it was called The Capture. It runs over 2 series, and don't worry, I'm not going to spoil it for you. But it's basically about a program where it's highlighting the fact that what we think is reality is not really real at all. Reality is what we make of it, and that we cannot trust what we see. The advances in digital technology, when combined with the opinions and maybe even the agendas of those in power, are at best dangerous. We can really only be sure of one thing, and I think it's Benjamin Franklin says we can only be sure of death and taxes. And when I was doing some research for this podcast before that, and I was looking at, what really matters to people, I came across a website called the Tiny Buddha, and I'll put the link for that in the show notes as well. And Tiny Buddha says that what really matters is purpose, having a purpose, having time, having your health, and having loved ones in which to share this with. And as I would put it, that's a wealthy life. And if you're living a wealthy life, you're doing what you love. So effectively having time to spend doing your purpose and living your purpose. And you are doing what you love with those that matter to you most. So you're having the time and the health to share with the people that matter to you. In pre-Facebook times, yes, we were still sold the ideal life that we should have, but that ideal life probably didn't resonate with half the population anyway. I remember from my childhood, the Bisto family. So it was an advert series that ran somewhere in the early 80s through to probably the late 90s. And I'll put a link down the bottom for you to have a look at. And this family were a mum and a dad and the 3 children. And, you know, I can't remember the mother worked or not, but she would come home in the evening and she would cook them a meal of, you know, meat and vegetables or something out of the cookbook. And she would use obviously the OXO or Bisto gravy or whatever the product was that they were promoting. And the family would love the meal. And there were some funny little bits in it as well. But it was really telling us this idea of the nuclear family that I certainly brought up with, you know, the 2.4 children and, you know, a mummy and a daddy together and everybody sitting down having a meal and everything was wonderful. And I, you know, I look at it now and I wonder, how did that resonate with families of different ethnic backgrounds, which, you know, would have been present in our society in the 80s and the 90s. It's not like they're a new invention. We are and have been for years a multiracial country, a rich mix of different ethnicities, of backgrounds, and now more openly of different family makeup. So maybe the single parent, which could be a mom or could be a dad, maybe through choice, through divorce, through widowhood. We could be a family of a mum and a dad, or 2 mums or 2 dads, or we could be a family where the grandparents are the parents. I've got, you know, a number of tenants that I've come across where the grandparents have stepped in and are supporting the family. And so presenting this for some unwanted and for others unattainable ideal, and then forcing those that didn't deliberately not want it or could potentially have it down a pathway that meant that this is how you're supposed to be living your life. While they were fun at the time, they now somehow seem almost like they were shaping society, saying this is what is normal, and if you look like this, great, but if you don't look and behave like this, then you're not the majority in society. And you can see why people get alienated. I think now it's even more insidious, it's more manipulative, because what I might see compared with what you might see will be completely different. So we're being manipulated down different paths, and the social media magnets with all their algorithms will be telling us that what they're doing is they're providing us with relevant content based on our previous searches and everything else. But if I once looked up for a pair of shoes, it doesn't mean to say that that's all I want to look at is shoes now. You know, I know that there are more things out there in the world. I don't even want to just see other forms of clothes. I want to see everything there is in the world. And I don't want to be in a position where someone is dictating what I can observe, what I can learn, what I can see, and therefore what I can think. But that is what's happening out there. And if you can't also, on top of that, easily tell what's real and what's fact, then you can see why when we have political campaigns or pretty much political claims anywhere in the world, that you can see how there are now these conversations about social media manipulation and the voters being manipulated because they're being fed content in order to shape their thoughts and their beliefs and therefore their voting habits. And if you take that back up a level, that's what's happening in the marketing. So, and the advertising that we're reading. So what I want to do is get you to see through this and to make your own decisions. And because you are now seeing all of this, it's an illusion, it's a game, it's just like watching a film, it's not real, none of this is real. What matters to me, or what matters to you? What do you want? What do you want to eat? What do you want to give as a gift? What do you want to do for Christmas? What do you want to do for New Year? What do you want to do for your birthday? What do you want to do at the weekends? What do you want to do when you come home from work? It's your choice, and it doesn't need to be stressful, because you don't need to conform to anything that possibly doesn't resonate with you anyway. I want to just take a moment and make you a genuine offer, a genuine opportunity to work with me in 2023, so that you can decide what you want your life to be like. There's no comparisons. There'll be no fake news. There'll be no piling up the stress. It'll just be an opportunity to take time out and think about what you want. Harlem, can you run the brief advert here? We're only going to run the brief advert in this one, not the full advert, because they'll already have had it for a couple of weeks. And then we'll go back to the big advert maybe next recording. So isn't it time that we started to decide what we want for ourselves? And you're going to go, oh, here she goes again, up the revolution. Not really. Well, all right, maybe just a little bit. But what do you want? Honestly, not what have you been told that you want, what actually matters to you. And by extension to you, your family, maybe even apply this into your business life. What matters to your business, what matters to your customers, what matters to your employees. Now, I run my own business, which when we put it into Business Stink is termed a lifestyle business. And that is actually as derogatory as it sounds. It's saying I'm just running a business to provide for my own lifestyle. Well, of course I am. That's actually why I'm running a business, in order to have the lifestyle that I want. The business that I have has to fit in. But what it's actually doing is implying that I'm not serious about my business, because I'm not trying to build an empire that I can see, sell for millions, that I've not got my exit strategy in place. And I could defend that by saying that actually my empire is my property portfolio, which provides for my lifestyle. And there is my exit strategy for that. And I know exactly what I'm doing with my property portfolio. And that I run my business as my legacy to help others. In a later episode, and probably in a couple of weeks from now, in early January, I'm going to be talking to the fabulous Tom Evans. And we're going to be talking about that line between legacy and philanthropy, and how you can move from property income, asset-driven income, to free up your time so that you can then create intellectual property income, and that you can both give it away as a philanthropist, but also have it come back and give you money as an income. And ultimately, through all of this, create a legacy that is so much more. Let me just pop back a minute to this idea of deciding what you want. This year, over Christmas and New Year, Bob and I made a decision that we were going to have a 2-week holiday at home. And the holiday was a holiday away from Christmas. We were only going to buy what we wanted. We were only going to eat what we wanted. And ironically, I realized after over 20 years with Bob that he doesn't like Christmas pudding. Now, we have had a Christmas pudding every year. I don't eat it. My dad never ate it. My mum, I don't think, ate it. But she would buy it for Bob, and Bob would eat it because it was bought for him. And so and last year I bought it for him, and we happened to be in the shops this year. And I said, oh, as there's only the two of us, do you really want a Christmas pudding this year? And he said, I don't actually like Christmas pudding. And it was like this, wow, this light of illumination had gone on. We've been stuck in this tradition of doing things, but we were doing things that really didn't matter to us. So this year we've walked, we've talked, we've exercised, we've actually reduced our weight rather than joined in with sorry, I'll do that line again. We've walked, so start again one more time. So this year we've actually walked and talked and exercised, and we've actually reduced our weight rather than join in with the media-made gluttony that's never really set right with me in the first place. The grandchildren received money in a new savings account instead of spending hundreds of pounds on plastic toys and wrapping paper that really they didn't need. They've got so many toys already. But now we're in a position where they've got money in a savings account. They've actually got a stronger financial future than they did a couple of months ago. And I'm not totally boring at Christmas or birthdays. Amelia and I, well, she's older now, so she's this massive 6-year-old. Not that she's massive, 6 years is massive. She's already 6 years old. And don't I know it? We went out for the day, and we went out with the intention of creating memories, and maybe it'll become a new tradition. We'll see whether, she enjoys it, whether she wants to do it again next year. I'll offer that as an opportunity to her. But we went to the sales and we bought an outfit that she wanted, that she picked. We tried on loads of clothes. She got to make decisions and choices. And then, of course, we had, nice afternoon cup of tea and cake or whatever it was, and a little hot chocolate or whatever. And we made decisions together, and we had fun together, and we had a memory together. And it was more, and it lasted. In some senses, it cost less than possibly the presents, but it took longer to experience. It wasn't just 2 seconds of ripping the paper off and then putting that toy to the side, which, yeah, all right, maybe you'll get to play with the toy afterwards. She'll get to wear the outfit afterwards for as long as it lives, it fits her. But we were out for an afternoon together. And I think, what can you be doing differently? Could you go for a walk at Christmas or birthdays or Easter? Or what about a picnic when the weather's nicer? What decisions could you make better about what matters to you once you start to see through the advertising and the manipulation that is going to push you down a line to thinking that you need to do things in a certain way? So with that in mind, that massive thought for you about, make time to decide for yourself, I want to thank you for listening. And I want to wish you that 2020 has been kind and wonderful for you, and that 2023 will now be amazing, because you know that you can decide that you can make it amazing, whatever that means to you. And that will be different from me, and it'll be different from anybody else that's listening. It'll be different from your neighbors. It may even be different from some of your family members. But it will be your choice as to what the year is like. It will be your choice as to how you spend next Christmas or next birthday or next Easter or anything else. And it will be your decisions based on your values without stress. And that means you're also going to live longer, and you're going to be happier with it. My name's Vicky Wishay, and I hope that this episode and the other 40 odd episodes that have gone before this have put a bit more whoosh in your life in 2022. And I look forward to helping you whoosh into 2023. Thank you very much for listening.